सच्चाई। So today I'm back with Chetanveer Singh, and we're doing a little podcast thing where we talk about what does it mean to be a man in 2021. Like nowadays, you see like, oh, everything's just like toxic masculinity, manspreading, mansplaining, like the patriarchy, all these things. You hear this all the time nowadays, right? And it's like it's almost kind of even like an attack on masculinity, or is it just like an attack on toxic masculinity? So in this video, we're just gonna talk about like, what does it actually like mean to be a man, like alpha versus beta, toxic masculinity versus masculinity. And let me just start off, with Chetanveer. Like, what do you think? Like, is being a man like toxic masculinity, or is that just like masculinity?
So, can you rephrase that? So you're saying, what do you feel is like actual masculinity, or did you want me to like describe both of them in a sense?
I think like everyone says like, oh, men are so toxic, right? Like especially like girls and stuff, or just like on the internet. Although the internet, internet's a mess, right? But
Oh yeah.
but like everyone's just like, oh, like men are so toxic, like like, oh, they all start like beef with each other and all that, right? So I'm just like wondering like to be an actual like man, right? To be like, I don't even know how to phrase it. It's weird, right? Because like, is it like
I
being an
know what
alpha
you're
or
trying to say.
whatever?
I know what you're trying to say. Where I can sum it up is influences. As human beings, we are said to be very smart, right? Because we've right built cities, invented so many stuff. We can do stuff that animals can't do. But if you think about it, we as humans are pretty stupid. We get influenced a lot. Back in the older days, if you talk like about our grandparents and all that stuff, they weren't really influenced too much by outside factors. All this toxic stuff we can see, we've even talked about it in our group chats like mine, my Discord. It's been talked several times on yours, how people are just so toxic on TikTok, Instagram. People can't be themselves, right? You have to be a certain way, right? To be a guy, you have to be like all tough, right? To be masculine, I guess you have to be like really strong, get into a lot of fights, not bow down to anybody, right? But in a sense, it's kind of like being a tough beta, to be honest. If small things bug you and you're gonna fight over that kind of stuff, right? And you can't control your emotions, right? That kind of makes you a beta somehow, right? But and I can always go into depth what actual masculine person is supposed to be like, but again, a lot of people have different perspectives. But that's really my say on that. I'll let you touch base on what you feel of what I've said and what you have to add on to that.
Yeah, so again, like you mentioned, like like men are supposed to be tough, right?
Yeah.
And like this is the thing, like from the dawn of time, I guess, you could say like men used to be like the hunters or whatever, right? And back in the day, even like probably like 100 years ago, 50 years ago, whatever, right? Like the gender roles were like that men used to go out and work, right? And then like women used to stay home and like, take care of the kids and shit, right? So the men used to be like the tough guys, like go to work, come back, like they're supposed to, bring home the money, the food, and they're like the providers, right? And nowadays, this is changing with, feminism, and it kind of even like takes the pressure off of men, right? It's just like now men don't have to be the providers, right? You can provide, and you're like, your wife or your whatever, right, can also, go to work and stuff. So, both of you provide, right? But, the whole tough thing with that is like, do men still have to be tough? Because on one hand, right, like for me, I feel like this is a bit of like hypocrisy, I guess, for me even. But it's like I see that men have to be tough, but at the same time, I like that men nowadays, we're talking about more like men's mental health and all that. So like on the other hand, I do like that men can talk about their feelings and things like that, right? But it's still like, I don't know, it's like it has to be like a weird balance, right? Because like I feel like men don't have to just be like just talking about their emotions all the time, like just crying about like depression and stuff, right? Like sometimes you do have to like just toughen up and just be a quote unquote man, right? And some people may argue that's toxic, right? Like that's toxic masculinity, like, oh, you're just covering up your feelings and all that. And honestly, I do kind of see like both ends. So I kind of want to like, ask you, is just like, how do you feel about that? Like, do you think like, men should be able to like show their emotions all the time, or like should they toughen up? I don't know, like what's your take?
There, like I said, man, there's a fine line. To be honest, God's made differences between man and woman, right? No matter what you believe, the Creator, man and woman are different, but at the same time, we're both human beings. Men experience pain, sadness, happiness. We have feelings, just like you said. Men's mental health. Why do men commit 4 times more likely suicides than women? Is because that's what society's told us, to hide up. You're a banda, especially in our Punjabi culture. It's pretty bad, where it's just like tu banda ya, right? Aime roi janda ya, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? To be honest, it's the same thing with women. Women tend to be very symptomatic. Oh, my breakup happened. She called me this. She called me a bitch or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But to be honest, bro, there is that fine line. There's that fine line of anger. There's that fine line of, to be honest, with lust. There's fine anger with showing your feelings. And what we had talked about that other day is, with men, there's a difference between seeking advice and you're going through something, right? Crying about it, or being a tough jock, where actually you're not. Oh, I'm tough. I'm not gonna be going to anybody for my help and stuff. There's actually a limit. Everybody has that breaking limit where they're like, you know what, screw this, At my point, I've been through all 3 stages. I've been a wimp, crying about it. Oh, I went through this breakup and stuff. I've been a tough jock, where you just hold it up and it just overconsumes you, right? It's like a bottle, right? You see this bottle here? That's half full, right? If I keep it half full and I don't share, and there's a point where it's gonna, you keep filling it, it's not gonna hold anymore, right? Yeah. And that's dangerous for your mental health. And what can happen? You can end up mentally breaking down, or worse, suicide, right? So again, there's that line so let's say I'm going through something. I talked about it. Hey man, I'm just going through this stuff. I just wanted a friend to speak to, right? And you're not like trying to play the victim, right? Because you don't want to play the victim. Everyone goes through struggles. It's not like, oh, you're the only person. We all go through our struggles and our successes, right? And you just talk to the buddy and, open up. And you know what? A lot of people can't open up to their feelings to you. So in a sense, you can think that that person's actually a bit strong, that they can open up to their feelings and tell somebody else. And then there's somebody that cries about it and wimps about it and asks for sympathy. That does not help you out. What if something else happens? What are you going to do? Cry about it too? And the other thing with the tough jock is that like I've already mentioned it. It's like a bottle. You keep filling it. It's not going to hold anymore, and the water's going to go out, and it's not going to be controllable, right? So there's a fine line, man. There's a fine line to anything, to be honest, right?
And
I'll let you go on.
yeah, so I'm thinking like, it's just like how like men can't open up, right? So it's like this weird thing. It's like women, say that, oh, on one hand, oh, men are so toxic. Men, they always start fighting. They always, they can't open up about their feelings. They can't do this, right? And on the other hand, you see this a lot too. It's just like, oh, I don't want to like beta guy. I don't want a guy who just like cries all the time and like shows their emotions and shit. So it's a real, like, even I think like society itself is, like hypocritical, and that like society needs to also change. Right, but like society like places these standards on men that they are supposed to be tough, they are supposed to be like strong, like all this, even though I don't know, like men have emotions, right? So it is, I don't know, it's a really tricky thing, and I think like society needs to change, and then I think men can truly like be like strong enough and like not fear showing their emotions, because like I think like men have a fear of like if they do show their emotions, they'll be made fun of it for it. Right? Because like whenever we're raised, when we're kids or whatever, it's like, big boys don't cry, right? So I think even like whenever we're like babies or like little kids, right, it's just like, all right, men don't cry, you just gotta toughen out, right? And then I think that's why like this whole kind of thing where we don't share our feelings with people even happens, right? And I think like you said, it's very damaging, because the bottle will eventually explode if you keep filling it. And I don't know, it really is tricky, because yeah, go on.
It's just like drinking water, like it's water, it's really hot, right? And sometimes just by telling somebody when this bottle gets really full, so if you just take a little bit, it's kind of like taking a sip, you cool yourself down, stress is relieved, right? Like especially when it's like heat. We just had that. Sorry, I interrupted you, but I was gonna forget this. I was gonna say just like this heat that we're having, the heat dome in BC and across Northwest Pacific, North America, it was really hot, right? So sometimes if it's just like when you're keeping all these emotions and all this stress, all this trauma within you, and sometimes you just need like a cool bottle of water, drink it down, right? He hydrates you, right? Because just imagine if you had this heat dome that was here and you weren't drinking water. You'd be hydrated. We'd be fucked up, right? Yeah. So to be honest, sometimes it's okay to drink the water than letting it boil up. Mm-hmm. I'll let you continue.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, definitely society needs to change, and I was just wondering, like, like there's this thing with like alpha versus beta, right? Alpha, yeah. Is like usually known with being like the tough guys, right? Who like, or not even like necessarily tough, but like they're basically just like the ideal man, right?
Yeah.
Or like they're just like they get lots of girls, they're like tough, they're just like they're smart, they're charismatic, they can like talk to everyone, right? I think that's probably like the ideal alpha, right? And the beta on the other hand is like a person who like doesn't really do confrontations, they're kind of like a little scared even or whatever, right? Like the typical stuff of like not a man, right? So I was just wondering, like, for you, like an alpha, would that person, like, I don't even know how to phrase this properly, but like, is an alpha that would like start fights with people for no reason, like just to prove that, oh, like I'm the fucking alpha here, like don't you fucking like talk to me, how dare you like look at me like that? Is that an alpha to you?
That's how society has defined an alpha. That's when I've seen a lot of TikToks on alpha. It's usually some guy being like, you don't back down to anybody, right? Don't bow down, right? You're the top of the jungle, right? Big guy, like like kind of like Surrey Jacks, right? That's pretty much the definition of an alpha. Gets a lot of girls, right? Probably like all that stuff, man. Like, but to be honest, like I've mentioned, that's just being a tough at the point. That's just being a tough beta, subduing to your urges, right? Because because people that are on semen retention, technically through, I know I'm mentioning it, technically through mainstream society, those people would be considered losers, right? Because in society we're told to subdue to your urges, get a lot of girls, right? All this stuff, right? Oh, right. Some Surrey Jacks will even be like, you'll probably know it, right? Yo, you looking at my girl? If somebody even looks at your girl, you'd be like, ready to fight him and shit, right? But to be honest, all these attributes that that I see, it just plays into being a tough beta right? So I'll let you add on to that. Do you have any other questions to add to that?
Yeah, so like tough beta, I think you mean like that is just like they're beta because they get offended easily, right?
Yeah, you're being offended, right? An alpha, technically alpha, top of the jungle, does not give a shit about what anybody thinks. He's on his grind, he's working, right? Because these guys that are getting a lot of girls and stuff, I doubt, like, they'll probably text you on Snapchat, yo, she's texting me and all this shit. I doubt that person's on his grind. I doubt that person's working better towards themselves, is consistent, working on themselves, right? And to be honest, I'm gonna speak from my preferences. You could maybe consider I was an alpha, because small things people would say, I'd be like, fuck, how dare you say me? I text them, right? And I used to get text a lot of girls text me on Instagram. I would talk. I'd be pretty much wasting my time. Now I don't give a shit. If right? If anyone wants to say crap about me, go ahead. They can say it. I focus on my gym, right? I have no attention for women, right? I do not text women anymore. They text me. I do probably wait and reply the next day. So they've stopped texting me. So to be honest, I've left society's definition of an alpha and worked towards what being an alpha means to me, and I feel much better, to be honest. I'll let you continue. That's pretty much my personal say on that.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you because I think an alpha would be a person who doesn't get offended by the little things. Like like when dogs are barking, like you shouldn't be like, oh, fuck, now I gotta get involved. Like it's just like they're just like they're just like people. Like who cares, right? And like I think the people that do get offended easily and like take it seriously and shit, they're kind of weak because they're like insecure, right? They're like, oh, how dare you fucking like say something about me, say something about like whatever, and then they get offended so easily and they just want like prove it, like look at me, yo, I'm better than you, come on, like like I don't think an alpha wants to like prove to everyone that he's an alpha. He's just like an alpha, right?
He's just an
uh
alpha.
yeah, although I think many people probably have different definitions and all that, but like I think that's kind of like our definition of an alpha. And feel free to like leave it in the comments, like how do you guys feel about the whole thing. um but I think that's basically like the end of the video. Do you have anything else to add about like this whole discussion?
To be honest, I really don't. I know people are gonna have different perspectives and all that, but I think, to be honest, I've covered my point, and yeah, I pretty much covered my point. Do you have anything to add on to that? Like anything that you disagree or agree to, or um, would you say that's the finishing touch of it?
Yeah, I think that's basically about it. We probably missed, a couple of things here and there, so feel free to like leave that in the comments, and then maybe we can address it in another video or something. And
Definitely.
subscribe to Chetanveer Singh. He does dope stuff on his channel. He was talking about like motivational stuff, working out, exercise, just like stuff about Sikhi and like semen retention, and just like a great person. So his links will be in the description. Go subscribe to him. And thank you guys for watching. I really hope you guys actually enjoyed this discussion about like what does it actually mean to be a man. And I'm sure we missed some stuff, so leave it in the comments. Thank you guys for watching, and peace.